come on, Kris, I don't think that bad.
You said it was bad.
It is
Okay,
bad, isn't it?
be more polite. Okay.
No, you're right. You know, I mean, every time I go somewhere and sing, people always tell me to stop. Like if I go to a concert. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Backroom Christmas show. This is Joey.
Hi, this is Kris. How you doing?
And we're going to be talking about Christmassy things, and we're going to be talking about a few things about mental health. And can you believe it's the end of the year?
I know. Actually, this year has gone exceptionally quickly because most of it I felt like I was just trapped in my house. So
yeah,
it's really fast this year.
And do you feel that this Christmas or this time of year for you, because lockdown's over, it's going to be like, have you got like a big list of things that you want to do?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I've got lots of things I've got planned. And I just, ever since lockdown has finished, I've just been thinking about all the things I want to do. So I've kind of gone a little bit berserk.
Yeah. So what's the number one thing that you want to do?
Well, I keep going to the city every weekend, just going out for dinner a lot and trying to plan some trips to go places and just a bit worried about whether or not we're going to get shut down again.
Yeah.
So just that.
I don't think we will, you know. I think that they know. But it's so funny that you say that because I am the opposite. I really feel anxious about, like, I would love to go to the city, but I don't think I'm mentally ready. Like, I don't think I can cope with crowds. Isn't that, you know? Yeah. And I went to get my booster shot a week and a half ago, and I had to go into the city to get it done. And thank God the centre was quiet because that was one of my biggest things that I was uncomfortable about was seeing people. So is it busy in the city?
It is. And I saw like a number of things going on, protests and lots of people out there. So it was basically back to what it was before.
So what would you suggest for me? How do you think I should amalgamate back into reality?
Well, I knew a lady once who, when I was over in Japan, she was one of my students, and she was very quietly spoken. And she said she forgot how to talk to people because she had a kid and she just spoke to him, or was nursing him when he was growing up. So she really had no contact because the father was living in a different city. So she was like coming in for English lessons with me, and it was really hard for her to kind of learn to speak again. But I guess it's a bit like that. If you're not used to it, it's going to be hard to get back into it. So just give it a try.
I guess I've got to like be aware of what I'm telling myself.
Yep, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and also, and also, I don't know what's like. I don't know if I know. It's good that you're going because you obviously are just going, and you're doing things. But in my mind, there's nothing to draw me there. Like, I don't really have a reason to go, and so I think I need to maybe find some reasons, like maybe go to the gallery or do something like that.
Yeah, you've also really thrived in this climate of lockdown because of your online stuff. So you've really thrived where a lot of people have felt restricted, and for me, I felt back even last year. I'm ready to go out and do things again. So
yeah, because I was thinking the other way. I was thinking that I have learned to become introverted, and I think because I've always been extroverted, that lockdown has actually made me realize that, I like this feeling of introverted.
And so because you do a lot of online stuff, so maybe you're getting used to that kind of interaction now. Whereas me, I always feel restricted by that. And when I can see someone face to face, I'm like, wow, thank God this is back.
Yeah. Okay, so on today's show, we're going to look at. I'm going to take you through my garden, and I'm going to look at how gardening can help you with mental health. And like, it's so funny. Like, I have never had a backyard, Kris, and so now I've got this backyard, and it is not therapeutic to actually grow some things and see like things grow. The funny thing is that my father, right? He's an avid gardener, and he has never ever had a dead plant ever.
Wow!
Can you imagine that? When you're like trying to learn, and there's my tomato seed, and it's all wilted, and he's got this plant with big tomatoes on it, and it's like I understand what the word green thumb means when I look at him. Like nothing ever dies, nothing goes brown, nothing wilters. It's quite amazing. It's like he's like the garden whisperer, but I guess it's just the fact that he's into gardening.
Well, I think, also practice makes perfect. You don't want to be in that situation where you feel like you can't make a mistake ever. Yeah. Sometimes plants are going to die. I mean, I don't even garden, and I've already killed several plants in my life.
I killed a cactus. That's how bad it is. Yeah. And you're going to be talking about something today, Kris. What's the topic that you're going to mention?
Yeah, so I did a video a while ago, which is actually, on my YouTube channel, and it's just talking about how, we all get stuck in our past, like our past story. So I think it's about 10 minutes long. So I just go on about how, when we look at new situations, we have to look at it with a fresh set of eyes, and that sometimes means taking a step back and not, getting stuck and just doing things automatically.
Yeah. And Grant Shepherd from the Secret Men's Enlightenment group is going to be talking about um, how tantric meditation can help with mental health and with intimacy. So that'll be interesting. And then you and I will be having chats about things throughout the show. So it's basically going to be us doing Christmassy chatting today. So let's get the show started, eh?
Great.
So Kris, like, how do you? I want to talk about Santa, right? I know that Santa's
Right.
not real, but Santa must have the most pressure job in the world, right? I mean, he's only got like not even 24 hours to get all these presents to everyone, right? He's got to make sure everything's ready. So, what do when we look at the historical story of Santa, what do you think some of the things are that Santa does to make his job easy?
Yeah, well, I can remember as a kid imagining, because I'd go to bed and I'd be thinking, what's Santa doing, And I always just imagined that he had like magic dust and he just sprays it over the reindeer and then they go like ultra fast. And I think my mum was telling me, that he could go down the chimney or whatever. So I imagined he could like squat like Flat Stanley and go down the go down the
So he could like
chimney.
morph himself
And he
into
had
a
like
into a
some sort of
body.
time bending ability where he could just do everything in 24 hours, or
Yeah,
even not even that. Actually, no, yeah, it would be 24 hours over the whole
yeah.
sun rotation. So
I love it that everybody, like as kids we have, all these different things. Like I saw it like a little bit different. I didn't see the magic dust. I just thought that, oh my God, he's like so organized. Like as soon as I remember reading somewhere when I was little that once Christmas was over, like the elves already start preparing for next year. Right. And so it's like a whole year of them making toys for every child. And I thought, oh my God, like he's so organized and dedicated. And I always thought that he just had a very good schedule.
isn't
Right.
that
Like,
funny? It's like you really see the business side of it and the work.
it's not that I don't think I thought about it like the way I'm describing it, but I remember seeing a cartoon that was about Christmas, and that was the message in the cartoon. And
Right.
as there are so many Christmas stories, right?
Yeah.
And you can't enjoy all of them; they become a little bit tedious. So when you find one that you like, there is that element of remembering that. And so the dust must have come somewhere for you. The magic dust would have come from a story
Yeah.
that you saw. Well, what I saw was this Santa that was I think it was a handover. Like his son was being handed over the Christmas range. And so you saw the structure. And so of course the movie was about the son not being very organized. And it was
Right.
about Christmas failing, right?
Yeah.
But I remember the father being the real Santa. And so he was very organized. And so but if that was real time, if Santa was real, I reckon Santa would be on stress leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Santa would be stressed out, wouldn't he?
Yeah, and again, I guess it's the way I saw it as well when I was a kid. I never thought about it him being stressed out or working hard. I just thought he had some sort of magical ability to be able to do it
He
really
had
quickly.
help, maybe. He had help.
Yeah, but I thought like he must have like these incredible abilities that he could just do everything.
Yeah, actually, I've just had a remembrance. Actually, you're right. There is a business part to it. But when we found out about Santa not being real,
Hmm.
because we started seeing Santas everywhere, my parents said to me that, "Come on, be realistic. Santa can't do everything, so he's got help, right?" And so for a little while, probably a year or so until we really grew up, I thought that Santa had the ability to morph, and I guess that lines in with your time travel thing. He could morph into all these different places, right? So he can get the job done. And so it's really funny how imagination can create an ideal. So Santa always comes across as not stressed.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that was the furthest thing from my mind that he might be stressed out. I was just like he was just doing his thing and he had these abilities.
Yeah. I did see a funny one once where Santa actually didn't get to do anything. He sent his wife out to do it. So it was all like this misconception. So how do you think that plays out in if we just take that example into the workplace? Like, when we have these people that are doing really intense deadline jobs
Yeah.
with responsibility, and what do you think they need to do to maybe get some non-stress elements into their day-to-day life? Because I mean, Santa wasn't stressed, like you said.
Yeah.
But in reality, do you think that he would be in real life? He would be, wouldn't he?
Yeah, of
If it
course,
was
of
real, if it
course.
was real.
But
Yeah.
I always felt, and this is just my feeling, when I was a little kid, that Santa was doing it because he wanted to do it, and that it was a
Yes.
joy for him. And I
Yeah.
get that a lot of people have deadlines at work and they need to work really hard. But I do think also sometimes people, do need to decide for themselves, how much they want to work. If they are in a really stressful job, it takes an extra determination for them
Yeah.
to be able to write it out if they aren't under those deadlines. I think so.
I mean, that's a good point, isn't it? It's like, why? The question would be, why would you do that job if you didn't like the pressure? Like, when I think of people that go into, investment banking, all those people selling stocks and shares. There must be something that you want that makes you do that. I mean, like, if someone that didn't want pressure went into that environment, that'd freak out.
Yeah, and I think there's a big difference, because I mean, I do a number of things that are fun for me. Like I did go-kart racing yesterday, and today I was just playing this video game that I like, and they're both very intense activities, right? But I think, you know what, I enjoy it, and I'm really, really inspired to do it. Even when sometimes you get that feeling of like, oh, this is hard, trying to be competitive or whatever. And I think working is the same, like if you're in a job that you love, then you will put in that time to really, outdo everybody else, right? But, I guess everybody reaches a point where they go, this is too much.
Yeah.
And,
It's
I've
too
done,
much, and also sometimes it's entrenched. Like, I think that some people have a connection to money because they've got to pay bills to work. So
yeah.
when you say to them what you're saying, they go, "But I've got to pay my mortgage," and so they don't leave because it's too risky.
But that's an outside motivation. That's like, if I don't pay the mortgage, I'm going to lose the house. Whereas what I was talking about is like, when people are doing a job and they can see the purpose in it, there's like an internal motivation there in a way, like you could look at it and say, well, if I don't do this job, I'm going to lose the house. Or you could say, when I do this job, I feel like I'm doing well at my job and I'm thriving, and that can be your motivation, which is like intrinsic. Whereas
Yeah.
an external thing where you feel like you're under the hammer the whole time, I think is really bad. That's like a bad
Yeah.
stress.
And the example of the mortgage, I think, is more about the fact that I think that most people have mortgages and most people have to work. But when you tell yourself you're going to be okay, you then start looking for another job and you make sure that there's a transition rather than sitting in the fear, which doesn't get you to do anything, right? It doesn't get you to be connected to a purpose, because not everyone's going to find their purpose in a position that they don't like. Some may find it. Like, I didn't really find a true essence of purpose for probably it's only been the last 15 years.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
all the other time, I mean, I don't know how I actually did it. Like, I was
Well, I
going
think
through this job.
that's the big thing, Chris Rock in his comedy said this thing about work. He's like, you've either got a job or you've got a career. And he's saying with a job, you're always looking at the clock in terms of like how long until this shift finishes. Whereas career is always like, you need more time. You're always thinking, I need another day so I can get this organized. And everything becomes about, what you really want to do. You need more time to do it because you couldn't
Well,
even say you
don't
enjoy
you
it,
think
but
as well? There's no time really. It just seems
you're invested in it.
time doesn't seem real, because you just do it when you do it. Like, you
Yeah.
can work at 8 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's not really relevant because you're doing what you love doing. Well, if you have to start work at 8 in the morning, it's like, oh, I got to go to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I had a job once, right? And the job was sold as a really stressful, out of control job. But when I started the job, it was actually really easy. And I found myself doing nothing. I think because I could do the job quickly. And I found that was even stressful. Like I had to like find 5 hours. I had to find things to do for that 5 hours that I was finished. Right? So they sold the job as hard, which I'm sure it would be hard for someone that didn't have the experience or the. But I found it that I could get the work done in an hour. That would take
so you're
8
a
hours.
fast worker.
No, it was just not that I'm a fast worker. I just think that I just understood that particular task.
Okay, right.
Right, and I just could do it quickly. And so I had to like fill in time, and it was really stressful to look busy.
Yeah, I had a job. I worked at Centrelink for a year or so years ago, and I remember because it was a government agency, they were very lenient in terms of output. And so at one point, we were a group of guys, and there was nothing for us to do. Like the job that we were doing had ended, and we were waiting a week for the next job. And literally, we'd come in every day and just kind of waste time on the computers and chat, And actually, after a few weeks, we were really hating the job. And it sounds bad because you think, well, I'm doing nothing.
No, of course.
It's actually horrible.
Because going back to your point about time, filling that time for you to chat and just play on the computer would have gone slow.
Exactly, yeah.
And so you feel like there's no purpose. What are you doing here? And so, is that why you left?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was basically a temp position, but yeah, it was was really boring. But I did get jobs, in that company later. But it was just, I mean, it just finished anyway. But yeah, I just didn't like it.
Going back to Santa, let's play a game, because I think as the world moves forward and it gets busier, like if Santa was real, what would be some ideas that you may have for him to streamline Christmas? Because I think people need to start thinking about streamlining, because like you were saying, it was a temporary job. I think that's becoming there's more jobs that are contractors' jobs. There's going to be jobs that are going to be starting to be reduced, and people going from working from home. So let's look at Santa first. What could Santa do to help him that people can maybe just mimic or start learning to do in their day-to-day life, you think?
Yeah, in terms of him streamline, I mean, I always thought of him having the whole year to plan.
Yeah.
That's all he does. He just does that on Christmas night. So he has a long time to organize it and get some extra staff and that sort of thing. So I think, if you plan, because I've done teaching in my life as well, and it's always like they say, plan to fail, or fail to plan kind of thing, So if you don't plan, then you're always going to run into problems.
Yeah. So you're saying don't go ad hoc. Don't be random.
Because it works sometimes. Sometimes you can get inspiration and go, I got an idea, and you can go with it and it works out and it was better than the original plan. But a lot of the time, that sifting through ideas can take so much time and have so many problems that it doesn't work out when you're pushed. Yes. So we do need to plan to a certain amount.
That sometimes can work when you're under pressure, can't it? But it can't really work if you've got all this space, because it may not end up. You could have used that space better. I mean,
sometimes.
Yeah, it could work sometimes, but that's a risk when it comes to, like, say, Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I was thinking about this question and going, okay, climate change. Santa also, doing what you're saying, like depending for 24 hours. Like, wouldn't it make sense for Santa to like maybe consider taking the toys to a warehouse in each of the cities or countries, and rather than having to carry everything in one go where there could be a storm or something, maybe start thinking about distribution. And, so in other words, for everyday people, it's about having, really it's about structuring and thinking ahead of time rather than just going to what you've always done. And I think COVID's been one of those times, hasn't it? Like, we can't continue doing what we've done. And so the people that are succeeding are the ones that are seeing the opportunities to adapt and look at different ways to work, which doesn't involve hopefully stress. Like, one of the things that I love the most is working from home means I don't have to drive to the city.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, I love it because it's such a. How do you find getting to the city? Do you like it, or do you find it annoying?
Well, actually, going to the city. I mean, now I enjoy it because I go on the train and it's a bit of an experience. But if I have to go on peak hour traffic, I really hate it. I refuse to do peak hour traffic.
How long is it for you? How long will it take for you to get into the city? Is it like over an hour?
Depends what time of the day. If it was just
say morning.
Sorry.
Say a weekday morning going to work.
It would be if I had to go through along the freeway all the way into the city and then park in the city, it would take probably an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I take the train, it's like an hour, which is okay because I don't have to concentrate.
Yeah. But do you think that we've got this whole lockdown thing has made us used to not wasting time. Like, see, I know that you could read a book on the train or listen to the radio or a podcast when you're driving, but I would rather be doing other things with that hour and a half.
Yeah, I think lockdown has forced everyone to reevaluate. And like you said, some people adapted really quickly to the new environment, and other people have been a bit like, no, this will pass. I'm gonna just stay as I was. But those are the people that tend to be, the ones that have struggled the most, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
So
But the traffic thing is a big thing for me. Like it does. You have this time when you're at home. You get up, you have a shower, you have breakfast, you come, you work, but then there's no stress. But now going to my clinic, I get to work now a bit stressed because I've been break move because it's bumper to bumper. I'm going, oh God, like can't someone invent time travel? I want time travel so I can go.
yeah, that would be good.
Take me to
But
work.
I think people underestimate how difficult the stop-go traffic is, because I can drive, I've driven to workplaces where there was no traffic, but it was a long distance. Not hard. But if it was even half the time, but stop and go, it was like I was exhausted by the time I got there.
Because you're using your leg muscles to brake.
But also my mind, it's like thinking, judging distances constantly. So that's the hard bit.
Yeah. So I guess that's a really good thing to talk about in regards to how our workplaces have changed. And good old Santa, you never know. Santa could be real. We just still don't know.
I think Santa is a good example of how you can do a lot of stuff in a short period of time if you believe in yourself.
Yeah, and Santa's a really good example to show you that if you don't believe in yourself, how fat you can become. Coming up next is how mental health can be helped and influenced by finding something that suits you. And we know mindfulness is a really big thing in mental health. So I'm going to talk to you about gardening and show you a little bit of my garden. And we're going to just explore how getting into the garden is such a good way to turn your mind off. Hi, this is Joe-y Busuttil, and welcome to Mental Health Info. On today's show, we're going to be talking about gardening. And while gardening isn't for everyone, its positive impact on physical and emotional well-being is something that we could really understand as a useful tool for health and for mental health. Gardening is a beautiful activity. Gives you both the physical hands-on, gives you the ability to see things as they grow, and allows your mental health to find a calming place. Now, this is our garden at my home that you're seeing, and I've taken some footage so you can see the difference in the veggie patch, and you can also see some of the trees that are growing in my garden. Your own garden is a space where you can clear your mind and reduce stress as you become one with nature. Gardening encourages that positive mental stimulation. Even something as simple as having a plant on your desk at work can make you feel energized and able to think more clearly. Individuals who suffer from anxiety or depression have found gardening to be incredibly beneficial. Humans have long known that being energized in the natural world of growing plants is a good thing for us. But there's also plenty of research now that backs this up. While gardening can be tough on the body, it's a mental massage for your whole mind and emotions. Think about it for a moment. While gardening, the things that you do rely on concentration, focus, and this is a form of mindfulness in some way. For me personally, the colours and the vibrancy of the plants and the trees and the environment really helps me to distract myself in some way from what's going on in my everyday life. Now, gardening can really promote exercise. It has a way for individuals to reach the minimum daily
guidance in regards to their exercise, because you've got to move around. Now, we know that lack of exercise can lead to a range of health issues, and gardening is a great way to meet your body and to allow it to have its needs met. The guidelines for physical activity in children and adolescents are around 60 minutes a day. And for adults, it's about 20 minutes of vigorous, moderate activity a day. So by doing some gardening, we allow ourselves to reach those exercise goals. And these goals, this exercise can really help us to reduce the chances of getting diabetes or any other health issue. But more importantly, it helps us to calm anxiety and depression. Because exercise releases endorphins in the brain. And endorphins are chemicals produced by the body to relieve stress and pain. They are known to produce positive feelings and reduce the perception of pain. While gardening may sometimes seem like a chore, it has a significant positive impact on mental health and emotional well-being. And if you've gardened yourself or, tried to grow something, even indoor plants, you really do get that joy from when you see everything grow. I know that I get so much out of looking at my garden, the greenery, the vibrancy of the plants. Now, we've got a garden that has a veggie patch. And through this, it encourages us to eat healthy because we grow our own produce. And more importantly, we're aware of what we're putting into our bodies because in some way, it's really, truly organic. And believe me, there is no better feeling than eating food which you've grown. And you'll see at the end of this clip how far the garden has grown, and you see some of the things that we've grown in it. Furthermore, producing small amounts of produce from the garden just increases the appreciation for food that is made out there. We understand what it's like to put a seed in the ground, to water it and nurture it and fertilize it. And as this food grows in the garden, we allow this food, these plants to be healthy, which then in turn gives us an energy to be healthy. Food grown from our own backyard encourages us really to eat healthily because we know where the food's coming from. And we get so much joy from sharing any excess fruit or vegetables that we grow to other people. It just really enhances the cognitive ability and the skills to try and understand how to put a garden together, what we need to do to make sure that it's fine to get the best outcome. In doing so, it's been proven that just a little bit of gardening can really help psychologically. Working productively in the garden can increase serotonin levels in the brain, causing you to feel happier throughout the day. It's not like you have to do a lot, but just going out there into the fresh air, the sunlight, is a really beautiful thing. Gardening can also improve just our overall mood. Looking at the plants, understanding, smell, connecting with nature. And if you give it a go, there's a really pleasant surprise there. It just brings that creativity and that spark for innovative thinking. It always sustains to sustainability, recycling food to make compost. It's a great way to really start and understand just how easy it is to grow something, to give yourself purpose. And if you really give it a go, you'll acknowledge and you'll feel something really quite unusual. That is, we have instinct inside of us. When we start using our time and we start growing things, the creative part of us just starts to automatically just be intuitively connected, giving us more concentration, giving us more ability to focus in a way that is really productive. For example, if you're feeling angry or if you're triggered with something, going out into the garden can give you fulfillment and a great sense of accomplishment while calming the body down, because it boosts your brain's serotonin power, increases memory and decision making, and sometimes it gives you just a sense of well-being. something you should keep in mind as a way of meditation. For those guys or people that don't meditate very well, this is a really simple way to use mindfulness. A really simple way to be honestly mindful of what you do and what you see and what you create. Because everything that you do in your garden comes from your own chain of thoughts. And of course, like everything, it just takes time to practice. You give yourself a commitment to go and do the gardening, weeding, watering, all those things that you have to do. And what you do is you just give yourself the commitment to let go of anything that's holding you back. And it might be you do 20 minutes a day and you give yourself that commitment. Now, as you see the garden that's on the screen now, you can see the lettuce and the tomatoes growing, the celery. Everything is growing beautifully because we've really focused and we've given ourselves permission to nurture this garden and in turn nurturing ourselves. Spinach. Everything comes from the ground and everything gives us a sense of knowing. Because when we plant a seed or a seedling, we know that it's going to grow. Just give this opportunity a go to get into nature, to let your pets or yourself just be honestly connected to something that is easy and accessible. If you have a backyard, that's great. If you don't, just a plant in pots, they can do the same thing. Giving yourself that permission to have a wonderful mental health.
So coming up next is me talking about the idea of when we go into a situation, we always kind of carry the past with us. So in this video, I'm talking about how sometimes we have to kind of take a bit of a breath when we go into new situations and just recognize that we're in the present moment and we don't need to like carry this enormous baggage from our past. Hi, okay, in this video I want to go through a quote that I saw the other day that I think is really, really important when it comes to visualizing your life for the way you want it to be. Okay, so the quote is, visualize your life as you want it to be. Go to a private environment for 15 minutes every day where you can imagine. What has been has nothing to do with what will be. That's a hard thing to get, isn't it? When we look at our lives and we see the trajectory from where we started to where we end up. And a lot of time we think, well, it has to be a continual progression. But I know in my life, my life has taken so many twists and turns. If somebody was to look at that it wouldn't make any sense. When we look at something in our mind, what we are doing is we're actually checking references in our subconscious to see how to deal with a new situation. So for example, it could be something like you see a bug on the ground, or you're opening a door handle, or there's a problem at work. Whatever it is, we don't actually look at the situation from a clear perspective. So when we're an adult, we are automatically using our subconscious, which is largely a collection of programs that we have developed over many years of trial and error when we were younger, which resulted in conclusions in our decision-making process. So think about that with your child's mind. When you were a child, you didn't question things, and you sometimes didn't know how to deal with situations like, I remember when I first was learning maths, I remember I was something in grade 1 or something like that, and someone said that the divide symbol, they said to me, I said, how do you do this? I've never seen this before in my life. And my friend said something like, oh, you just add 3. And so for the rest of the day, I thought that the divide symbol meant you just had to add 3. It was like plus, and then you just add another 3. So I had no concept at that point how to how that symbol would function, And it's obviously when you get older, you realize, well, that was a silly conclusion to come to. But it was because from my child's perspective, I had not yet had enough situations to make approximations in my life. So it is important for us to realize when we're adults that when we go into a situation feeling like it is a new opportunity to handle things differently, when we meet new people or have a new job or whatever, we need to be aware that we have already decided how it will go. Our mind and body is constantly checking the environment for signals, identifying what to do next. So, for example, in social situations, I should laugh. If you're around people and you go, oh, I'll laugh, I'll fit in. I should give eye contact. I should, wait for people to speak so I'm not being rude. I should stand a certain distance away from people and try not to cut anybody off. And further from that, I decide how to fit in. I remember being criticized before. I should have my guard up when talking to people. Or someone who is taller than me will try to make me feel small, etc. The list of ideas and assimilation goes on. And also think about this. Have you ever heard of beginner's luck? Why is beginner's luck so common? The short answer is because in the beginning, we are not so worried about how it is supposed to go. We are kind of like just free because we're in a new environment. We go, oh, well, I don't know how I go with this type of game. I haven't made that decision already in my subconscious. We feel free to let unusual things happen because we don't yet know our true ability yet. Then what happens? We get used to fitting in, to playing the cards that we are dealt. We hide inside of that paradigm. And the more we do things that we are familiar with, the more that we get rooted in that scenario. However, the reality is that our past does not have to dictate our present and future. We could make a decision and have totally different outcomes in our lives. Now think about this. If you get overlooked for a promotion, you start looking for things to blame. And we go, this company's terrible. But the reality is it's not the company's fault. A part of it is to do with how you expect it to go. Okay? Even in situations where you feel victimized, it's not the bully's energy only. It is also you that is tapping into that fear, their fear also. When we recognize the frustration of the recurring nonsense of our lives that keeps happening again and again and again, we are faced with a very simple decision. So what do I want to spend my time experiencing? Which may be good, but it's getting boring. Or do I want to live what I have always dreamed of, even though there is a chance that I will not get exactly what I planned and I may fail? The only reason that the past always seems to dictate the future is that we have the expectation of it happening again. So it always feels like it's so easy to keep going as you are. The same people just keep turning up in your life and the same stuff keeps happening. And you see other people and you think, well, why doesn't it happen to others the same way? Why is it only my life that tends to happen this way? Why am I doomed to this? And it doesn't happen to others the same way. So it is always particularly happening to you that way because of who you are, obviously. However, we are not limited by one position. We are not fixed in position like a tree. We have the ability to be someone else. We can talk a different language. We can change who we are. We can walk into a different store and buy something else. And we can focus on different things and attract different things into our existence. The problem here is that the habit of thinking you are the past person is still very persuasive. And if I say to you, who are you? You'll immediately go to your memory of things that you have done. But none of them is actually you. That is what you did at that time. But if you choose something else, you can be somebody else. And as I've said before, sometimes people get a new limb and start to have the talents of another person. Sometimes people have life-changing experiences. Sometimes people have a life-changing experience and, start to behave differently just because of that thing that happened to them, the way they felt about it. And sometimes people just get fed up with who they are and they just feel like changing dramatically. And at the end of the day, if we make a choice to look at things differently, our reality does change. Okay. So that was a lot to take in. So
It's really good.
I find this topic really interesting, Joe. So let me put that to you. So do you ever go into situations where like you carry the past with you? So like obviously I was talking about how like people have beginner's luck, and I always found in my life that beginner's luck was one of those things where, I'd play poker with my friends, and all my friends were really good at poker when I was growing up, and I didn't know the first thing about poker, and I'd be like, okay, I'm playing, and I would always win. And I had a friend of mine who would always get really upset with me. He'd be like, oh, man, how do you win? You don't even know the game. Because I had to ask people, I'd say, is this good? That sort of thing. So have you ever had that experience, Joe, of
Yeah. Like for me, like the biggest thing that I think I spend in the past is anything to do with relationships.
Yeah.
Right. So the past has to me, I really do feel that that's my biggest thing that I've had to work on. And so I've done lots of work on that because I would like either look for reasons to be uncomfortable or to be scared to try something because of the pain from the past and so on. Like now in my life, I don't feel like I do that as much because I feel that I've done a lot of like looking at the past and unpacking and releasing and forgiving and all those things. Yeah. But to be honest, the main thing here used to be about me feeling that something was wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So
and that's also something we're taking from the past.
So so it would be, I've done something and everything's going well. And so that creates a past of things being good. And then either someone says something, so I take it personally, or something fails. And that past memory of things being good influences me feeling like this is bad now. And I feel heavy and I get depressed. And I've done lots of work on just accepting the fact that I now look at those things as opportunities, but before I used to compare them to the past, right?
Yeah,
and I used to compare, and if the things weren't good, or if I don't have that friend, or if that relationship's over, that means right now I'm failed. And so that's been a real. I'm glad that's over now because I used to hate that. They used to really drag me down.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously some of the points I was trying to make is that we, with whatever we look at, I talk about the looking at a door handle, or you see a bug on the ground, or whatever it is, whatever abstract idea we have, we don't realize how much we have these programs in our minds that is always trying to assimilate everything. So in order to to go into new situations with a fresh mind, it does take a bit of time to just take a breath and really kind of set our intention for new things that we're doing.
Coming up next is Grant Shepherd from the Secret Enlightenment Business Group, and he's going to be talking about how tantric can actually help with intimacy. And he's going to show us how tantric meditation can bring that into your life.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the Back Room, Secret Men's Business and Secret Men's Enlightenment. Secret Men's Enlightenment. Wow, big title. What I found with an enlightenment practice, such as meditation, for example, we tend to make it such a big thing. Okay, enlightenment, wow, that's a big thing. It's something way off in the future, something we've got to strive to, something we've got to strive to attain, something we've got to really work hard for. And in perhaps one sense, that's kind of true. And in another sense, it's right here and right now. So today I'd like to talk about intimacy. And the work I do in conscious sexuality is a lot about intimacy. And people tend to say to me, okay, the work you do is about intimacy, so obviously we're going to be talking a lot about how to be intimate with another person. And I say, well, yes and no. The first person we're going to learn to be intimate with is you. Is me. What we need to learn with intimacy is first of all how to be intimate with ourselves. So the practices I teach through conscious sexuality, meditation, Tantric and Taoist sexual practice, self-inquiry, all these practices are designed to help us become more intimate with ourselves. We start to understand ourselves on a deeper level. So what do I mean about intimacy when it comes to conscious sexuality work or meditation work or self-inquiry work? Well, quite simply, it's about getting to know ourselves at a deeper level, beyond all the stuff that we're usually looking at. You know, we're looking at the news. What's happening in the world? It's all a disaster right now. Or we're busy with work, or we're busy with friendships and relationships and family and career. And we don't actually take the time to build a relationship with our own self. Meditation helps us to do that. It's a time when we can just sit quietly and just be, rather than do. So much doing, not much being. Meditation helps us just to be. And the intimacy work I do with conscious sexuality is about learning how to tap into your natural, beautiful sexual energy, which we tend to be told is bad and wrong in the West. But the beautiful traditions of Tantra say, well, actually, it's your own energy, and without it, none of us would exist. None of us would exist without this beautiful energy. So conscious sexuality teaches us how to touch that energy, how to work with that energy, how to build that energy, how to direct that energy, and most of all, it teaches us how to respect that energy. So how to have a more healthy relationship with our sexual energy, a more intimate relationship with our sexual energy, with the one in here, with our sexual energy, before we start to share it with somebody else, before we start to make that leap to becoming intimate with somebody else. And self-inquiry. Well, self-inquiry is like keeping a journal, or perhaps writing in a notepad, or making some notes on your phone about how things are going in your spiritual life, how things are going in our inner world. Taking the time to do that rather than just constantly scrolling, which is easy to do. Not long ago, I found myself waking up in the morning, picking up the phone and going, okay, let's have a Facebook scroll for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And then as I started to see the pattern, I thought, okay, 5-minute scroll, put it down, let's meditate for 45 minutes. Let's do that instead, Let's do that. And as a result, more peace, more calm, more equanimity. Later in the day, I can do my scroll. It doesn't have to be right in the middle of the morning, right at the beginning when I'm starting my day. So, intimacy. A lot of people say, oh, intimacy is about into me you see. But I'd ask this question: who's doing the looking? Who is doing the seeing? And I would say, it's you. It's always you that's doing the looking. It's always you that's doing the seeing. Years of meditation has taught me that. We can't have any experience without being the experiencer. So it's a really good idea to slow down and take the time to really look within ourselves and understand that true intimacy starts with us. It starts with you. It starts with me. And the way we do it is we slow down and we take a look inside.
So, Christopher, we know the big thing that's coming out, Matrix Resurrection.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, I just rewatched the Matrix trilogy, right? And it's so different. Do you feel like it's a sort of movie that every time you watch it, you learn something new?
Yeah, I think so. I still remember I watched the second one, Reloaded, when it first came out, and after watching that, I had so many ideas. I was like, oh man, he's not in the Matrix, it's in physical reality. I had all these ideas. I felt like the third one didn't quite answer all of them, but the first two were really like, they opened so many questions.
Yeah. When's the last time you watched them?
Probably maybe about 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah. See, I found that because it's been so long since I've seen them, watching them again now with what I know now, I had the opposite effect. The third one explained everything.
Ah.
I felt like, because I didn't understand, like I was watching certain scenes and I remembered not knowing what that really meant when I first saw it when it came out, and then watching it again probably 10 years ago. And the thing is that now I watch them going, oh, I get it. Oh my God, it makes so much sense. And so it's been really interesting just understanding how the architect and the oracle and how everything, there's been all this matrix like creation and destruction for 5 times, right? And this is the 6th incarnation of it. And I didn't understand that the first time. Now I go, okay, this makes sense, and how that applies to us, and how there's been all these changes and evolutions, like the Industrial Revolution, and now we're doing the AI. In a way, that to me feels like a bit of a shift in the thing. But do you sometimes feel that you are in it? Do you sometimes have moments in your day or life that you feel like this can't be real? This is this is not me.
Yeah, actually, I read a book years ago which was talking about the I can't remember what the title was, but it was basically talking about how video games are incredibly similar to our lives, and they look at all these different aspects. And I think as video quality gets higher and higher, they're getting to the point where we can't even discern what's real and what's not real.
Yeah, I saw a video game recently being advertised that looked real.
Yeah, and it's like, sorry, the book was about the simulation hypothesis, which is talking about how if we look at our bodies, we actually are more like computers than we first realized. The way that the physical body works and that sort of thing. So it's interesting. It could be possible that we are actually.
What about when you said earlier that you were playing a video game today that was intense?
Yeah.
When you're in that video game, could that be you being in the Matrix? Because you're in the game and you're submerged in it, and and I guess you're not an addicted gamer, but if someone's an addicted gamer, and I know people that are, and they're doing that whole chair thing and the whole immersive experience, is that's a form of the Matrix, isn't it?
I think so. And look, it depends on your personal beliefs. I personally do believe that we have like an oversoul kind of thing. And I think about it like, I've read books where they say things like, the soul is you, but it's having an experience through our body, right? So our body is just our body. It's just the flesh. But it's like, that could be almost the same like a video game. Like if I'm playing a video game, it's my mind, this overmind, which is like much more complex than the game. So in that sense, my brain is down into the game. Whereas there might be an oversoul that's coming down into this body. This could be the game.
Wow.
So
have you heard much of the fourth one?
No, I don't know that much about it. I just heard that the guy who played Morpheus is not in it. Lawrence Fishburne is not in it. So.
Yeah, and I am I've been watching. I watched a few clips of people trying to unplug the trailer, right? And I just find it so interesting how people can see things that when you see something like that, and then they stop the video and they show you, they circle something, go, look, this is a clue, an Easter egg, and you're going, oh my god, I would have I didn't even just see that. I didn't even notice that little thing in the corner. So, do you mind can I tell you what one of the theories is? Do you mind?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
This could not happen. So, one of the theories is that the Matrix is in the fourth film. The Matrix is a movie, and so Keanu Reeves plays himself as an actor who is in the Matrix.
Whoa.
Right, and then because there's scenes in the movie, in the trailer, if you watch closely, where they're playing the movie The Matrix. Right, so it's on a screen, and he's in the foreground. So when you look, because sometimes I miss the backgrounds, and when you look at the background, it's actually the scene when he comes out of the Matrix with the poses and all that. And so the belief is that the Matrix is a movie, and he now realizes that while making that movie was made in the Matrix.
Wow. That's
so it's the Matrix within the Matrix, which is really demonstrating the Matrix that was making the Matrix.
And that's why I thought it was so interesting when there's that scene in Reloaded, the second one, when he does the thing, the hand thing, with those monster creatures, the kind of like
the Sentinels
things that come and get him. And that was in the real world. And I'm thinking, hang on, is it the Matrix and then the real world another Matrix? And I was thinking they were going to go that direction, but they didn't.
Yeah. So, yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I sometimes think the Matrix is also what we call data collection when it comes to social media and all those online things. So, it's so easy to see how the Matrix can influence the way people think through fake news or bots or whatever. And it's sort of in a way controlling or containing, or it's interesting how, I sometimes think that the influencers are Matrix because, we don't know, like you were saying, are they real people or are they just computer generated people that are saying, hey, buy this, and then people, follow them and buy it. So we're getting to a point where we don't actually know who's real, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And that's the thing that's scary. Don't you find that scary?
Yeah, it is scary because, I mean, like you'll see politicians on the TV now and it'll be like, well, is it them? Who knows? This is a very dicey time. Once they can make something real looking, I think it's going to completely.
And don't you think as well? I sometimes think that protesters that you were talking about seeing in the city, like that to me represents the real world, right? That's the nitty gritty of the people trying to fight for equality and all that. And then you've got all that sugarcoating stuff on top. That is the Matrix stuff, which is like
the PC culture.
No, I'm talking about real life. Right. So you've got these people protesting, right? Because not everyone's protesting. But then you've got all these other people in the suburbs having this Netflix, life that is it's the Matrix distracting them. They just have this, I know lots of friends who live their life on watching the Netflix. So if they're watching a lot of TV, then they think that some of their reality is the life of the person on TV, like a gamer would feel. Yeah. Well, in the background, there's all these people protesting.
Right. I see what you mean now. Yeah. Okay, so I get it. So they're the people who are like Cypher, right? In the first film, who was like, he goes, I don't want to know anything. I just want to be, I just want to enjoy my life. Those people are plugged into Netflix because they're trying to have a different experience.
Well, they're trying not to worry about, I think everyone has a good intent, and that is you and I want to have a planet that is sustainable, right? But in reality, I could be the one that goes and watches Netflix while you could go and protest about it, right? So we both want a good planet, but the real world is doing something, and I think the Matrix is when people say that they want to do something, but they'll still go to the fridge and get plastic out of the fridge and put it into the rubbish.
Yeah.
Right, so really, that to me is the Matrix. It's sort of like we know that the world is falling apart, but we don't care. Some people just it's okay. Someone else will fix that problem, and it's just interesting because that's how the Matrix sort of works. There was all this sort of, stuff. And the real war has to happen with the people getting onto the ground and doing what they need to do to change the system or the program. And
I think the problem is there's so many issues, and people feel like it's so confusing and it's so dangerous. Where people have ideas and then the family will disown them or whatever, or they lose their jobs or whatever with these like mandates and stuff like that. So I think that people are feeling like, maybe it's safer to just go and watch Netflix, because there's.
I agree with that one, but when it comes to the planet, though, I mean, like if I had kids, I would want to do everything in my power to make sure that their life isn't going to be uncomfortable. And I think, right, that's from what I've heard, that's what the new Matrix movie's about. Because there's a scene in the movie where Neo gets into a lift, right, and every single person's on the phone, right? And there's a mirror on the ceiling of the lift, and he looks up at the ceiling, and no one is communicating, no one's connected, everyone's just doing this, right? And he just sits there and he just groans, right? And so there's this whole ideology about we need to wake up, right? Absolutely. So I think your point is actually 100%. The Matrix is real. See, so your point about this, that is, if we want a better life, we need to wake up from the Matrix stream, which is any distraction, anything that takes us away. So, I mean, we'll see if that's the case. But I do think that there is some sort of programming that's been put into us as time and technology has gone ahead, hasn't it?
Yeah, and I think also you got to look at the aspect of like when they make the real world, like you were saying, protesters, you could say regular people who are working, that's real world. They make it difficult, right? If it's made to be uncomfortable, that automatically pushes people into addictions, which is, being asleep. So that's the other thing too, is that like in the Matrix, the original, of course, it was being depicted as a really horrible, world where they got terrible clothing and
because there was a war. The computers took over there, didn't they? And so that's another thing, is that in the fourth movie the other movies were showing us what could happen, and in the fourth one, it's actually starting to happen, where AI and all that. So in the movie, in the trailer as well, Neo's got like endless amounts of blue pills. Right. Because if you remember how the third movie ended, there was an agreement, right, with the architect to find peace. That's what Neo said to the big thing, and so there was peace. So that means the program was reset.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And now here we are in the new Matrix, and Neo's in it, and he's on the blue pill, and he's addicted to them. And so that's when
so he's living in the Matrix, not aware of the real world.
No, he's living in the Matrix, that the new program, and he's taking the blue pills.
Yeah.
But we don't know if that's not the real world or not, because remember the movie The Matrix is in that version.
Yeah.
God, like, can you imagine being in the heads of the writer?
I can imagine, but
the writer
must be doing such a good story.
But did you? I saw when I watched the movies. I also watched the making of the first one, and one of the conditions that every single actor that appears in that movie was they all had to read 3 books on quantum, time travel, and these were really thick books, right?
They chose the books, or they could choose their own.
The directors chose the books, right? They said to them, before I give you the script, you have to read these 3 books,
right?
Right. And so it allowed the actors to submerge themselves in this whole multi-layered discussion about what you and I are talking about, because otherwise you'll go crazy.
Yeah. And I think a lot of time actors will, they'll do a movie and they won't actually know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, The Matrix took over a year, and they had to dedicate their whole life because they filmed number 2 and 3 back to back.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And they had 6 months of training to be karate experts. So it was pretty intense. So by the time they finished, when I watched the making of the third one, there was so much emotion because it's as if a relationship had ended.
Yeah, absolutely.
So are you going to go watch it?
I think I will now. I wasn't quite sure what it would be like, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's 20 years old now. 20 years old. And I think that it's probably one of those movies that will always have a cult following.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Yeah, I do think so, because I think it's one of those films that is like trying to push the boundaries. Like, if you look at the Star Wars films, they push the boundaries a lot in terms of, the philosophy of the Force was just incredible. Yeah. And it's such an important thing. It's about spirit and following your intuition and all that sort of thing. But when they do the new ones, the last series they did, it seems each time they're just getting less
Disney,
and less about what the original idea was.
Disney took the rights. That's why.
Yeah.
Disney's bought everything, and Disney bought everything.
So we need another film trilogy that's going to really.
We need Disney to go. Get rid of Disney. But one last thing that I find interesting, because the Matrix is about change. So Matrix 1 started with the twin brothers directing the movie, right?
Yep.
Now fast forward to 20 years later, those two brothers are trans. They're now women.
Yep.
Right? And so that's, to me, and now one of them is directing it and is writing it. And so to me, that is even another layer of transformation.
That's right. Yeah. Because, that's interesting.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back soon. Coming up next is a short clip about how men could learn to talk to other men about mental health. It is becoming one of our big stigmas in our time. And as men become more comfortable and vulnerable, they're actually opening up and talking about their thoughts, emotions, and feelings and their mental health.
As with many mental health statistics, it's hard to know if the figures really represent what is happening. They can only tell us about mental health problems that have been reported. Many cases may go undiagnosed. This may be especially true when it comes to men's mental health. Men are known for bottling things up. Some men might find it hard to talk about their feelings due to the stigma that still surrounds men's mental health. Outdated ideas that men should be strong and seeking help is a sign of weakness can prevent them from opening up or reaching out in tough times. So they often suffer in silence, which can make their mental health even worse. Statistics show 1 in 8 men will experience depression, and 1 in 5 men will experience anxiety at some stage of their lives. The number of men who die by suicide in Australia every year is almost double the national road toll. Talking to your mates about mental health can help remove the stigma and have positive impacts on their well-being. It could even help save a life. We hope these tips on how to talk to men about mental health encourage supportive conversations with your mates when they're doing it tough. Why don't men talk about mental health? Society's expectations and traditional gender roles play a role in why men are less likely to discuss or seek help for their mental health problems. We know that gender stereotypes about women, the idea they should behave or look a certain way, for example, can be damaging to them. But it's important to understand that men can be damaged by stereotypes and expectations too. Men are often expected to be the breadwinners and to be strong, dominant and in control. While these aren't inherently bad things, they can make it harder for men to reach out for help and open up. Some research also suggests that men who can't speak openly about their emotions may be less able to recognize symptoms of mental health problems in themselves, and less likely to reach out for support. Men may also be more likely to use potentially harmful coping methods such as drugs or alcohol and less likely to talk to family or friends about their mental health. However, research suggests men will access help that meets their preferences and is easy to access, meaningful and engaging. Is depression different for men? While there isn't a different sort of male depression, some symptoms are more common in men than women. These include irritability, sudden anger, increased loss of control, risk-taking and aggression. Men may also be more likely to use alcohol and drugs to cope with their depression rather than talking about it. They may use escapist behavior too, such as throwing themselves into their work. Asking how your mate's going doesn't have to be awkward or a big deal. Just bring it up casually after talking about other topics when they're already relaxed. 63% of men are most comfortable talking about their mental health over a drink. Pay attention to tone and body language. It can be hard for men to open up about how they're feeling. Sometimes they might not even know how to put it into words, and it can be so much easier to just fake a smile and say, "I'm fine." It's important to read between the lines if what they're saying doesn't line up with how they're acting. If your mate is saying there's nothing wrong but they're looking away or stiffening up, it could be a sign there's more going on beneath the surface. Show you really care by asking twice. For example, if you ask how they're going and they say they're fine but they don't seem it, you could follow up with something like, "Are you sure? You seem a bit down, stressed lately. Happy to chat about it if you want." Now your mate knows you're being genuine and are willing to listen if they're ready to talk about it. Listen without judgment. If someone has let their guard down and opened up about their mental health, you should make them feel supported and glad they confided in you. Avoid passing judgment, or they could shut down, and avoid bringing it up again in future. Don't place blame, tell them what to do, make it about your own experiences, or tell them to man up. If you don't know what to say, simply listen and encourage them to get it off their chest. Follow up to see how they're going. Check in on them regularly to see how things have been and if they might need extra support. If they're not coping, gently encourage them to seek help.
Well, thanks, Joe. That was really interesting. We'll see you next time.
That was good. I mean, like, I had a really good show. I really enjoyed talking to you about the past and about. I really think that you and I should talk about The Matrix once we've seen it.
Absolutely. You've raised so many new ideas in my mind. It's unbelievable.
What else are you doing What are you doing for your Christmas break, by the way?
I'm just going down. I'm going to go stay in Geelong for a while, just so that I can do some driving up the couple of places like the 12 Apostles and that sort of thing. And I'm going to go the other direction down to Inverloch for a few days, catch up with the family for Christmas, and then next year it's going to be a crazy year, I think.
You reckon? I reckon it's going to be not as crazy as this year, right?
No, I mean crazy in a different way, like
crazy in a good way. Crazy is creative way rather than crazy like the lockdown way.
I mean like a elastic band pulled back, just
woo!
Let's do things.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, everyone, have a great Christmas and New Year, and hopefully we'll see you in 2022. Merry Christmas, Kris.
Merry Christmas, Joe.
See you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.